What happens when raw, blazing talent, a 20-steal threat hitting nearly 290 in the minors, sets his sights not on greatness, but on perfecting the single most sacrifice-driven, stat-diminishing skill in baseball, the bunt? Is this the ruthless calculation of a pragmatic survivor, or the tragic, self-imposed ceiling dictated by a broken organizational culture? Welcome to 618 Radar.
Today, we look at the sacrifice, not the one that helps the team win the game, but the one that kills a young player's career. The story of Utsunomiya, a promising young infielder in the Giants farm system, is not just a footnote in a slow offseason. It is a clinical diagnosis of the sickness plaguing one of NPB's most storied franchises. Here is a player, just 21 years old, who dramatically increased his playing time in the Eastern League, posting a very respectable
.289 batting average, driving in 16 runs, and stealing a league-leading 20 bases, a clear demonstration of speed and bat-to-ball skill. What is his declared goal for the critical third year, the year he must rise from developmental status or face the contract guillotine? Not reaching 300, not hitting 5 home runs, not pushing for 30 steals. No, his primary goal is to increase the probability of successful bunts. The air immediately feels heavy with the scent of wasted potential.
I spoke with veteran scout Hiyama, a man who has tracked NPB talent for 4 decades, and his reaction was one of visceral disgust. "Look at the data," Hiyama stressed, his voice raspy with frustration. "He is an asset. He had 84 appearances, a near .290 average. He is a disruptive force on the base paths. In modern baseball, a player with those specific attributes is a diamond, a Swiss Army knife that hits."
Yet the moment he opens his mouth, he parrots the organizational dogma. "I want to improve my bunting percentage." He's aiming for survival, not stardom. And that right there is the indictment of manager Abe's tenure. This isn't a strategy, it's cultural asphyxiation. The conventional counter-argument, often whispered by old-school apologists, is that Utsunomiya, being a developmental player, must demonstrate utility to earn his main roster spot.
They argue he needs to be flexible. If he can lay down a perfect bunt, he proves he is selfless, reliable, and ready to be the utility man, the pinch runner, the late-inning defensive replacement. They claim that aspiring to be a perfect bunter is the fastest, most reliable path from the second team to the first team. But let's demolish that logic with cold, hard statistics. The league average for successful sacrifice bunts in NPB hovers around 85–90%. Utsunomiya is already an infielder. His glove skill and base running ability, which led to those 20 steals, are already his primary tools for promotion. What is the marginal gain of increasing his bunt percentage from, say, 88% to 92%? Minimal. What is the opportunity cost? Astronomical. Every hour spent perfecting a fundamentally limiting skill is an hour not spent improving his plate discipline, which is required to turn that .289 into .305, or developing the gap power to turn 1 home run into 5. We are witnessing the forced miniaturization of a large talent. We must look deeper into the emotional landscape of the player himself. Imagine Utsunomiya, a 21-year-old on the cusp of his dream. He sees the toxic feedback loop. The Giants' top team is obsessed with small ball, relying on archaic strategies, often failing to score despite getting runners on base. He recognizes that the path to playing time under the current management is paved with sacrifice, not power. He isn't setting this goal because he wants to be a bunt craftsman. He is setting it because he feels he has to. It's an act of psychological compromise. He is reading the room, and the room says, "Don't be a hero, be a piece of wood." This internal conflict creates a devastating climax.
The real tragedy isn't that Utsunomiya might become a great bunter. The real tragedy is that he won't become a great hitter because he chose administrative loyalty over athletic ambition. As former player Iron Bat Kenji remarked to me, "When I was in the farm system, my goal was always to hit the ball so hard they couldn't ignore me." If a young guy's stated ambition is to get out of the way, the coaching staff is culpable.
They've crushed his fighting spirit before he even saw the top flight. This situation is the ultimate example of the Abe harm that the online community correctly identifies. The philosophy permeates the organization, transforming potential sluggers into singles hitters and potential run producers into sacrificial lambs. The Giants are sacrificing not only outs on the field, but the developmental trajectory of their most promising youth. Utsunomiya's
289 average and 20 steals are the numbers of a potential second leadoff hitter, a modern offensive threat, perhaps even a future international star if he focused on his strengths. Yet he is entering his last developmental season focused on a skill set that, according to advanced metrics, has the lowest win probability added in modern baseball. The plot twist here is profoundly sad. Utsunomiya believes he is working toward promotion, but he is actually working toward obsolescence. By the time the Giants shift philosophy, or by the time a new analytically minded coach takes over, Utsunomiya will be so mentally and physically molded into a sacrifice specialist that reversing the damage may be impossible. He is securing his utility status now, but he is fundamentally sacrificing his long-term value. This is the brutal calculus of a broken system, forcing its most energetic components to operate at a fraction of their capacity just to fit the outdated machine.
Before we sign off, hit that like button if you believe baseball's future lies in power, not parchment. Share this analysis with anyone who still thinks the sacrifice bunt is a viable strategy in the 21st century, and subscribe to 618 Radar for more deep dive analyses. Tell us in the comments, if you were Utsunomiya's agent, what statistical goal would you force him to choose instead of bunting perfection?